have a shot at revenge when they host the Ravens in Week 17 of this year. It's part of a difficult 3-game stretch in which Houston also has to play the Chiefs and the Dolphins. Overall, we give the Texans the 4th hardest schedule in the NFL based on the record of their opponents last season. So, Mina, year 2, C.J. Stroud, looking at the schedule, any concerns jump to mind?
You know, there is something to the idea that rookie quarterback breaks out year 2, the league has tape on him. I get that, but I think there's a lot of other reasons why C.J. Stroud could be even better this year, or his progress and development could continue, starting with this. Last season, according to FTN Fantasy, which tracks injuries, the Texans had the most injured offensive line, not in the NFL, but ever since they had started tracking them. So C.J. Stroud was exceptional despite that, which, by the way, that was a huge reason why they couldn't run the ball. He was amazing despite the fact that they had no run game. Now you throw in Stephon Diggs, which should make it even easier to run the ball. And then you got another year with Bobby Slowick, their offensive coordinator. We thought he might get hired away as a head coach, but you have continuity there. So I just think there's a lot of things working in Stroud's favor that should counteract any year 2 stumbles.
Yeah, and on the other side, like, this is a team that has more than C.J. Stroud. There's an argument to be made that at the wide receiver position, they have the best trio in ball. We watched Nico Collins become a breakout star. Tank Dell and his chemistry with C.J. Stroud, and obviously acquiring Stephon Diggs. Oh, by the way, we couldn't run the ball last year. Let's go out and acquire Joe Mixon that gives us a run game that only makes Coach Slowick even better in dialing up play action, because now people actually have to be scared that you can hand the ball off and run. And defensively, they went out and got pass rushers. Christian Harris, entering his 3rd year, seemed to be a star late in the season. And Derek Stingley showed everybody why he was the number 3 overall pick, even in front of Sauce Gardner. This team is poised to make a bigger splash this year than they did last. And why not? And you know why they have a hard schedule? Because they won the division. Because C.J. Stroud was that good. Because D'Amico Ryans is a star. And now we're going to get to see it in prime time. I'm looking forward to seeing them play the Jets. That was C.J. Stroud's worst game, and he left that game with the concussion. He's going to have an opportunity in prime time to show the world who he is.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's see if I can get that schedule where that. So, okay. I've seen a lot of arguments now of people trying to say that the Texans, specifically C.J. Stroud, that they're going to take a step back. Everyone's like, no, they're not that good, not that good. And that they have the hardest schedule. They had such an easy schedule last season, and so it's fool's gold. Let me say right now that is complete and utter nonsense, okay? Complete and utter nonsense. That you could make that argument if they won throughout the regular season and then they got demolished in the playoffs, first round. They didn't. They didn't do what the Dallas Cowboys did. Because all season, a lot of people, me, myself included, and especially if you watch shows like First Things First and Chris Broussard, right? The whole thing is that Dallas keeps beating tomato cans. That they're not that good of a team. And then as soon as they played good teams, they would lose, play poorly, or in the playoffs, get demolished by the young Green Bay Packers, right? So that argument now makes a lot of sense. That's not what happened to the Texans. The Texans played great with a rookie quarterback, rookie head coach, an up-and-coming OC, not a complete roster just yet. As they said, injury issues on the O-line as well as running back in terms of not having an established game in that regard. And yet they still did serious damage. And they held their own against the Ravens. I know the score doesn't look like that. And I get that. I do. Because at the end of the day, the Ravens absolutely won that game. But there was a few moments in that game where it could have gone a different direction. There was a few key moments where I forget, it was either interceptions or balls that were tipped that absolutely could have changed the complete trajectory of that game. Not unlike what happened in the Super Bowl with Greenlaw getting injured, or the fumble by Christian McCaffrey, or the fumble on the punt. I think it was a punt or a kick. Punt. And those things completely change everything. They just completely change everything. Football is more like any other sport, a domino effect. And there is a world where the Texans come away with that win. And again, I know the score got out of hand, but in no way, especially in that first half, where you just like the Texans are outmatched. The Texans can't handle this. They can't handle the moment. It was a gritty first half. That's what it was. And then, again, it could have gone a different way. So, and here's the thing. If the Texans stood still and didn't improve, then that argument would also make sense. You could say, okay, listen, CJ Stroud is growing. He's going to get better, but, they're playing a harder schedule, and, any of the issues that they had before were not necessarily addressed, blah, 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 blah. And now they have a harder schedule. That's not the case. They upgraded. They got better in all the places that they need. We know the OC is going to grow because, again, people keep forgetting this. Coaches grow and learn. So the OC is going to get better. The head coach is going to get better. CJ Stroud is going to get better. I understand that there's tape on him now, and that does matter to a degree. But CJ Stroud isn't a one-trick pony. It matters more when you're a one-trick pony. When you're a player who really can only do one main thing, right? If you're a true running quarterback and you don't have a great arm and they just know that when they take away your ability to run, boom. Or if you're terrible against the blitz and now everyone really knows that, they just know, like that, those are aspects. Or if he has a glaring flaw that could absolutely be exposed game after game after game after game. That can happen. But that is not CJ Stroud. Does he have some issues? Does he have some things that he needs to continue to work on? Of course. Everybody does. Every single quarterback, even Patrick Mahomes, is still learning and growing. He's still learning how to be a leader, quite frankly. So it's just this whole idea. I've heard a lot of hate thrown towards the Texans, and I can't make sense of it because it's just there's no reason to come into this season thinking, oh, the Texans were overrated, or oh, they barely got into the playoffs last season. They had a rookie coach and a rookie quarterback. The fact that they got into the playoffs then won a playoff game is incredible. So it's a nonsense take to say otherwise. If you want to say, listen, will there maybe be a step back in the sense of will the perception of CJ Stroud come back down to earth a little bit more? I can see that argument, right? Because sometimes we get so hyped. People are already saying, CJ Stroud, MVP, going to win the Super Bowl. He's going to pass Patrick Mahomes, right? Like everyone gets so excited. They do that with Brock Purdy. They've done this with Joe Burrow. So I could understand of this feeling of, hey, he's a really great quarterback. He still has a couple seasons away from truly becoming elite. It takes a minute to get settled. The Texans throughout the season, they realize, actually they need a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that. Those things can happen. Again, Patrick Mahomes still has had growing pains throughout his career. Andy Reid is still coaching him and teaching him how to play winning football. That's why Patrick Mahomes' numbers are even going down, but they're winning more. That is the genius of Andy Reid. So I just think that in terms of this idea that, well, their schedule's harder. They got to play the Jets and the Lions and the Cowboys. First off, I don't know who's scared about the Cowboys, and no one. I don't think they're going to be scared of the Dolphins. And again, they can hang with the Ravens and the Chiefs. I'm not saying, oh, the Chiefs and the Ravens have no chance. The Texans are here. But this idea that they should be scared of these other teams, I just don't see it. I really, really don't. The Texans can beat any team. They have weapons galore all over the place. And they have the right OC. And I've said this a lot about Ben Johnson, but make no mistake about it. The OC for the Texans is for real. He is a baby Shanahan. Like, he's a baby Shane Steichen. Like, he is growing and is going to get better and better and better and prove to be that dude. He will become a head coach and everybody will know who he is. And that's what we see with a lot of these guys, the Shanahans, the McVays. I'm not saying he's that person just yet, but he's on that trajectory. And so when you give him weapons, when you give him a great quarterback, and you now give him a whole nother season, because that first season is also him learning what works and what doesn't work with CJ Stroud. You're still learning, just like other people around the league are learning what this quarterback can do and how to defend against him. It's the same thing for the coaching staff of your own team. They're learning and figuring out, what can this guy do and what can't he do? Okay, he's not great at that, and we think that the defenses are going to start to use that against him. Let's see what we can do. And that's what shot Tom Brady up to just mega success. because he had an amazing defensive-minded head coach, obviously, in Bill Belichick. And they had their weekly meeting where Bill was pretty much like, this is how I would defeat you. Let's get rid of those issues. This is how I would beat you. And we're going to devise a way so they can't use that against you. And it worked pretty well for him. So I just think that the Texans, the sky's the limit for them this year. I think the expectations are to get to the AFC Championship game and even a Super Bowl. I think to say they have to win a Super Bowl or anything short of that would be a disappointment. I would disagree with that, but I do think that this is the best chance because I would imagine if they get to a Super Bowl, the OC will be gone. He will probably get a head coaching job. I think they'll probably, there's always a lot of vacancies, and so he will probably do that. And I think you want to maximize, and I've said this about the Detroit Lions with Ben Johnson as well, that you want to maximize. When you have a great OC, you really want to strike while the iron is hot. And you can see that this is, and I'm going to make this comparison with the Eagles. This is exactly what the Eagles did in 2022. When they went to the Super Bowl, they got better. They got weapons. They went out and got A.J. Brown. They had the run game. They were ready to go, and they went to the Super Bowl. And they were a play away from beating the dynastic Kansas City Chiefs. And I think that's what the Texans have built here. But as soon as they lost Shane Steichen, their offense took a back seat. Or not a back seat, a step back. And so that is the potential that the Texans can face. So if I were the Texans, I would, it's like, this is the year for you to go all in and be focused. And they're doing it. That's why they made the moves that they're making. I think they believe that this is their best chance. And it's not to say that once the OC leaves or that they just have no chance and now they're done. Like, I'm not saying that either, but this is the best chance. You're also still not paying CJ Stroud anything. We know history has really proven this. Like, before you pay the quarterback, that is really going to be the best chance for you to win, especially when he's a great quarterback and you're going to have to owe him a lot of money. So I think the expectations and are through the roof, and I think the Texans' potential is through the roof. And so that's what's exciting, because when the expectations and the potential coincides, that's when you can have a really, really exciting season. You run into trouble when the expectations are through the roof and the potential is not so high. You become the Dallas Cowboys. The expectations are Super Bowl. This is the year they're going to do it. Oh, they got destroyed by the Green Bay Packers. Ooh, okay, never mind then. That's what happens. So I don't think that's the Texans, though. I think they will ball out. I think CJ Stroud is going to continue to grow and just get better and better and better. And I truly cannot wait. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Texans? Are you worried that CJ Stroud could regress in year 2? Or do you think they're going to hit the ground running and the Texans are going to be a true, legitimate Super Bowl contender this season? And what do you think the expectations are for them? If you're a Texans fan, are you happy with an AFC championship game or a Super Bowl? Like, where do you stand with that? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.